You know how hexcrawls tend to kind of suck? I remember running Tomb of Annihilation, and it basically went like this. Okay, so you're in this jungle hex. What do you do now?
I mean, we're still looking for Omu. Yeah, so like south? Yeah, like southwest?
Yeah, you see it's another jungle hex, and you can't see anything else. Go ahead and mark off supplies.
We still have plenty.
Next day, south again?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you do that. There's a dungeon there.
Oh, okay, I guess we go in? I guess so.
Do you see the problem here? Yeah, it's not the lack of investment or the constant jungle hexes or the fact that they bumped into a dungeon. Those are all problems, but they're kind of more like symptoms of the real problem. You see, hexcrawls become boring when the choices are arbitrary. For a game to be a game, you need to be making informed decisions. And your decisions can't be informed if you don't know what's in a hex before you enter it. In the same vein that dungeon crawls are about gamifying that experience where you're crawling through a dungeon, the goal of hexcrawls is to gamify the experience of overland travel. But routinely, I find that it falls flat. At least it did until I made a handful of changes, and suddenly I started loving hexcrawls. They became my preferred way to play, which in retrospect seems impossible back when I ran Tomb of Annihilation. Welcome to Mystic Arts, where if you describe yourself as chaotic neutral, I already don't trust you. My name is Daði, I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. Briefly, if you're new to the hobby, hexcrawls are a method to run overland travel and exploration, and it's been around for as long as there's been D&D, or maybe even longer. During the genesis of the hobby, Gygax and Arneson used a different game called Outdoor Survival to run the party's journeys to and from dungeons. It's a process by which you apply a grid of hexes over a map, and then you use those hex increments to convert distance into time, thereby simplifying the workload of a dungeon master running the game. When the players ask, how long does it take to go there? You just count the hexes. Typically, when run as wilderness exploration, players start with an empty hex grid and fill it out as they explore. When hexcrawls are done right, they can be magical. It can transport you right into the wilderness by rendering it in detail with endless new discoveries. At its best, you achieve two things. You get a sense of place and you play a game. So how do you give someone a sense of place? Well, let's think about what it feels like to be somewhere. Let's go exploring. When you're standing somewhere, you experience it as a holistic place. You know what it feels like to be there. And those are things that you as the DM have to describe to your players, right? And yeah, that means describing what it looks like, sounds like, feels like. What the weather is like, for instance. But more than that, you have a sense of place. When you're physically standing somewhere, you're usually aware of where you can go next. In most hex crawls, you don't know what's in a hex before you enter it. You know you're adjacent to 6 hexes, you know them by cardinal directions, and then you're just sort of guessing which hex you should enter next. That guess might be based on maps you already had, rumors you picked up or something like that. But they aren't really informed decisions, are they? That's not what it feels like to be somewhere. Your awareness of a place is also an awareness of your surroundings. I literally mean what surrounds you. So here I am, and looking around, I can see the path I'm coming from, right? I can see these houses here to the south. I can also see the path heads its way along north, and to the east, we've got a big bog. To the west, we have a hill and there's some roads on the other side of it. And then further north, we can see a whole bunch of trees. Standing here, deciding where to go next, I'm making an informed choice. Do I go venturing into the bog? Ew, no. Do I go onto the big road over the hill? Well, I could, but I'm going to make the informed choice of heading north along the path. Come with me. Man, I hope Bob Worldbuilder doesn't see any of this. He's gonna be really angry I'm stealing his style. But hexes are huge. They're often 24 miles wide. At least that's how big they are on this world map I have on my wall. Obviously, you can't see into adjacent hexes when you're in one of these hexes. Well, make the hexes smaller. In my current campaign, I've got 2 maps. The one on the wall is the world map, but then I also have this map, the local area. On this map, each hex is 3 miles wide, and I do that for 3 reasons. Number 1, 3 miles is also called a league. So we can say things like, the camp we're searching for is another 6 leagues from here. Or, we could get there in time if we cross another league today. 2, I think good systems avoid fractions. I want an hour to be the smallest measurement of time. and a hex to be the smallest measurement of distance. I want to avoid saying things like half a day, 3/4 of a hex, and I really want to avoid saying stuff like crossing this hex takes 4 days, because then it feels like no progress is made on those 4 days. So what I do is measure 3-mile hexes in hours. If a hex is a road, you can cross it in an hour. But a wilderness hex, like bogs or forest, they're 4 hours. So you can cover 2 wilderness hexes on a normal day. This way, you cross multiple hexes in a day, and you're always making progress. And 3... The distance to the horizon is about 3 miles, sort of, give or take. Depending on exactly where you're standing, how high up you are, and all those kinds of things. Standing right here, I know that to the horizon over there is about 3 miles. Barring, something literally blocking my view. Which means that while you're inside one hex, you can see into an adjacent hex. And are you following me? That means that we know what's in the next hex. When the DM asks, what direction do we go into next? We have options to choose from. Do we want to head towards the bog, or the road, or the mountains? We now have enough information to make an informed choice. You'll be finding yourself in a position where you see a structure in a nearby hex. And now, instead of wandering into a dungeon, and your players see it over the horizon, as they end their day and they wonder how best to approach. They'll talk about it, maybe even argue in character. Do they have the right resources? Is this the place they meant to find? What if it isn't? Should they circle the area looking for other places? What if they get lost? All of those conversations have added meaning because instead of having entered the hex and exploring the dungeon because they might as well, now they can choose, do we enter the hex or not? Do we wait until later? Or do we just skip this entirely? Hang on, what is this? Hexcrawls, I think, are one of the best ways to do exploration, especially when it comes to overland travel. It kind of actively takes your party and your characters and it places them in a situation with their surroundings. We talk a lot about exploration when it comes to D&D, but I think it's important to remember that exploration is about discovery. What makes games like Skyrim so exciting isn't the bit where you're walking around or trying to hop up the mountain or anything. It's when you stray off the beaten path and suddenly you find yourself in some kind of tomb or ruin, and then you're talking to a dog and now you're having to do a side quest for one of the Daedric princes. Exploration is discovery. Populating hex maps is a lot of fun, but we'll make a video about that next week. But in brief, you create areas, factions, dungeons, and then you interconnect them. If exploration is discovery, you lean into it. Each dungeon your players clear should hint at or teach them about 3 cool nearby factions, dungeons, or quests. The appeal of exploring a hex map is that we don't know what's out there. We don't know what's going on, but we're about to find out. So as you design your hex crawl, make sure that there are things your players can learn, things that they can discover that they didn't think they were going to find. So as you hex crawl, make sure your players are constantly learning something. Each discovery should reveal a little more about the map. Your discovery shouldn't remove the fun of going somewhere to explore or find things, but it should be like an advertisement. So let's say you find a dungeon, like a small wooden fort, and you clear it out, and in return, you discover something. Your DM hands you a little piece of paper with a crudely drawn map on it. And on the map, you'll learn that there's a dungeon, not here, but out there in the bog. You don't know exactly where it is, you don't have the exact hex placement, but you know roughly where it is, and you've got everything you need to now go find it. That's the discovery. You have a clue. It's like a puzzle, you're piecing it together, you've got a bit, and then you're gonna go figure out how it works. Now that ew reaction from me earlier is challenged with a new fact. There's something to find out there. Is replaced with this kind of genuine excitement that you're about to go discover something. Run! The whole thing immediately changes your attitude. It's gonna be brilliant. That's the joy of discovery. But in order to find it, I have to go from hex to hex, 1 league at a time, as I discover what's in each place. But then as I go, I then see the dungeon in the next hex, and then I choose to go enter it. This makes the whole process inviting, exciting. And it's always like it's crooking its fingers at me, daring me to come have a look inside the weird thing I just found. You know, when we were up on that hill back there, we saw a ship, but I cannot find it. Like, we've just been wandering around, and surely we should have seen it by now. You can also insert more game-like elements. Yeah, the distance to the horizon may be about 3 miles or 1 league, but That's not true if you go higher up. You could insert vista points, like in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Say if I go on top of that big tower over there, I'll be able to see much, much further than I currently can at ground level. It also means that a map like this one gets explored without exploring every hex. There's a strategy about which hexes to enter to see as much as possible. Which routes will reveal the most map in the least amount of time. That creates another small game element. Not just resource management like food and ammo, but time management too. The players ask themselves, can we maximize our efforts here? Once you start stacking these gaming elements, you're creating a scenario where it's always fun to explore. There are many games to be played. You could decide that certain hexes have secrets, something that isn't visible from adjacent hexes. That's fun. You can even decide that some hexes have content that's only to be found when a hex is searched, which you denote by spending some amount of time there. Say, searching a hex takes as long as entering it. Simple rule. But those kinds of hidden secrets are additive. You could do them by a random table or even just have them be rare. It's up to you. I think all of this is so awesome. Like, I hope I'm radiating this because the excitement of discovering things as you're going around, you're walking about, and then you find a ship and a wooden fort. Like, how cool is that? I love that feeling of when you're walking around in video games and you find things as you're exploring. Like, I think hexcrawls are the best way to do that in your own game. It draws us into the world, and that's kind of the point of the video. An awareness of your surroundings makes you feel like you're in a place. It's literally immersive. And that's when you get some of my favorite parts of hexcrawls, the immersion. My players will take watches, about 4 a night since resting specifies 2 hours can be spent doing light activity. So those 2 hours they spend on watch. And since we have 7 players, one of which doesn't sleep, they all pair off and have conversations in private. While everyone else is sleeping, there's now dialogue scenes in the watch in the middle of the hexcrawl. This also provides an opportunity for me to describe the details in the middle of the night. As they're going somewhere, or as they're resting, as they're talking, I have an opportunity to define the details of the scene. You can describe the scene. You can create little vignettes of the stars, the moon, the blotted out rotted wood. Render the scene. I also try to make sure that there is a bit of downtime baked in. My players love crafting, so I figure, if they spend 8 hours marching and 8 hours sleeping, 4 hours setting up tents, taking them down, eating, camp, all that kind of stuff, that means they've got 4 hours left to do downtime. That's time they could spend crafting potions, magic items, whatever they like. Or rather 4 hours doing whatever they like during the hexcrawl. Hexcrawls, crafting, these things are all difficult to add in the middle of a campaign, but if you're starting an adventure, you can bake these things in from the start. And with hexcrawls, you've also got random encounters. As you're walking around, you never know what you could find at any given point or place, and you can just roll on those tables. So when you round a corner,
Daði, are you stealing my style? Man, this is all that I have.
If you want to know more about random encounters, there's loads of videos about them online. I made one, and Bob World Builder made a great one. I think that one of the downfalls of 5e hexcrawls is the resting rules. If you want to have meaningful choices on the road, you have to implement something like gritty realism resting, or deciding that long rests can only be taken in town, or maybe a system that blends the two, like my excursion resting rules I talked about in the homebrew rules video we did. If you're wanting a copy of everything I said in this video written down, as mechanics or a document of some kind, we have our Hexploration PDF available on Patreon. Just sign up at the Adept tier. It includes all of this information, formalized to a mechanical degree, and everything you'd need to prepare your own hexcrawl in your own homebrew campaigns. We made a bunch of small changes, everything in order to simplify it. We did away with travel pace and other sort of weird 5e exploration mechanics. Instead, we focus on entering hexes, searching hexes. There's foraging, crafting potions, magic items. It's even got tables for rolling on weather based on my in-game calendar. Today, we rolled 2d6 and got a 7, overcast and cloudy. Classic Icelandic springtime. There's no sponsor for today's video, so instead I'll just say go check out our Patreon for the Hexploration mechanics. Working on this video got me thinking a lot about this excellent video from Ben from Questing Beast saying D&D isn't a game, it's games. Let me expand a little. For DMs, hexcrawls are a solution to a problem. It's a game system, like dungeon crawls or combat, meant to shift the gears of the metagame we're playing from one mode to another. You know how we say roll for initiative, and then we're all playing combat? We know what our options are, what we're hoping to achieve, and what it's all about. We know what game we're playing. In combat, I know that a +7 to hit against a goblin or a kobold, which likely has an AC in the 10 to 15 range, means that I am more likely to hit than I am to miss. And I know if I kill all the goblins on the map, I've won this combat game we're playing, and we shift gears back into the description followed by clarifying question game that RPGs sort of default to. So what's the goal of exploration? It's kind of a terrible verb, isn't it? Explore. To what end? Well, to discover. Add hexcrawls when you want your adventures to be about making maps or finding hidden layers, searching for ruins, or discovering secrets out in the wilderness. Hexcrawls are more like ongoing puzzles than they are anything else. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend.
Mr. Garth's nail polish.
And if you want to support us directly, consider joining our Patreon for our rules on hexploration, and come by our exclusive Discord to talk about it. You can even talk about it in the voice chat. There's almost always someone in there, and I try to stop by when I can to talk about RPGs or the channel or whatever else. If you're feeling especially generous, you might like the video, comment, share, or subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.